What up YouTube, it's Misery Hates Company. In this video, we're talking about the best specializations for Wolverine. Now, I have been a little delayed in getting these videos out for the best, sort of build for Wolverine because I've been testing a lot of different things with my single one-star challenge series. Make sure you check it out. It's actually a really fun series. I'm very active throughout the whole video. So while they're longer, there's very little downtime. So make sure you check it out. It's a whole playlist on my channel, so make sure you check it out. It's just sort of fun. Maybe even as a podcast, like I said, I talk for the majority of the video about several different things. So even if you can't necessarily watch them, it's actually still very interesting and productive content to listen to. I digress. For this video, though, we are talking about the absolute best specializations, and I feel very, very good about my choices here. Some are very different than others, but I think that these are phenomenal options. I'm giving you a core 3 that are very, very strong for the build that I've used. So prior to looking at this video, make sure you look at my first 2 videos where I show you the best skills and then the best gear. And again, because of this being a brand new hero and brand new to a lot of people, I want to make sure that I am spending a lot of time explaining this, which is why I broke it up into several different videos. So that's why it is the way it is. All of this can be found in my playlist for the best build, because again, it's all basically the same thing. It's all about the best build for Wolverine. But again, we are looking at the best specializations. I will be referencing the build that I spoke to in my other videos about both skills and gear. So make sure you watch that one first. Pause the video here, go watch those 2, then come back to this one. There's a reason I released these videos in the order that I did. So make sure you watch them in the order that I released them. Please and thank you. Now, moving on, let's get straight to the video. All right, so again, this is all about the build that I showcased previously. So the best specializations are as follows. Now, some of these are going to, I think, surprise some people, and then maybe others won't. So the very first one that I think is a just must pick up. The first 3 are going to be just equipped all the time, and then the last one is very situational based off what you're doing, and I'll explain why for all of them. So the first one that I want to make sure is equipped all the time, because again, like I referenced in my other video, I want to build Wolverine incredibly tanky so that he just is very, very hard to die or to kill. That way, all of my stats, when I min-max them, I am just doing the most damage possible, but I'm still being very, very tanky, because I think that's going to be a really good balance for him in the super late end game. Moving on, the first one I'm going to pick is this one right here, the ultimate weapon of Berserker's Rage. Become immortal for 2 seconds upon sustaining fatal damage, preventing HP from falling below 1%, and activates Hot Hands for 6 seconds, cooldown is 600 seconds. Now again, this is all level 0, so it's going to go up incrementally, I'm sure. It's going to be phenomenal, but even with it as is, I would use it right now, because this is going to be a great quick getaway skill for both PVE and PVP. Basically, the longer you are alive, the more damage you're going to do. I'm going to say that again because it's relevant to this game and most games, because people are don't want to run away or stay alive. The longer you're alive, the more damage you're going to do. So keep that in mind. That's my logic, and I'm sticking to it. So that's going to be the first one I pick, is Berserker Rage, this green one. Moving on, the second one is going to be Cutting Deeper. This is a very, very important one for the build that I'm using. It is, again, an orange one. It deals 1% more damage to an enemy in Rupture state and 3% more damage to an enemy in Laceration state. Damage to an enemy in Rupture or Laceration state can be stacked. Again, this entire build is all about your Rupture and Laceration. It's basically a 3-skill rotation, and then the other 2 skills are incredibly situational, like I talked about in that video. Make sure you watch it. But this one basically makes you just do more damage. So the first one made it so you don't die, you can run away and recover. This one makes it so you deal more damage, and because damage is very, very important in this game. That's why you're going to see a sort of balance between damage and tankiness. Moving on, the second one, or the third skill, specialization trait rather, that I think you should go for. I just want to double check something really quick. Nope. Yeah, no. So these 2 over here about dodging, and then the dodge gauge, they're okay, but they're not the best. So they're totally situational, and if you're using some other people's builds, those could be good, but that's not the ones I would pick for this one. So again, the next one I would pick is, I want to say right here. Yeah, Healing Boost. So people who are actually, I think, are sleeping on this. So absorb 1% of damage of the active skill and the next skill as HP when using a Swift Strike class skill. Now keep in mind, we're using 3 out of our 5, and they're spaced out. So it also recovers up to 15% of max HP per skill use. So again, if you're using 3 of these, you can get a pretty decent amount of HP in total. So it makes it, and keep in mind also, this actually goes in really, really well with this skill. So you are stuck at 1% health for a few seconds. And then you also, every time you use a Swift Strike class skill, you're going to be getting more health. So you basically can't die. You can either run and recover or use this to get your health back really quickly. See what I'm doing here? And then you have all those dots and everything else going on. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of damage going off. So you can, in theory, keep fighting and not die. And then get to use that ability where even if you do dip below a certain amount of health, you can get health back quickly now. Now, those are the first 3 that I mentioned, the first 3 that I said that you would use for both PvE and PvP. This one you could remove, and I'll show you which ones you could remove for PvE here in a second. But the one that I think is for PvP multi-fights, such as Omega War, Alliance Omega War, or even squad battle to a certain degree, depending on where you put Wolverine, is going to be Swift Strike X Factor. So this is increased attack equal to a % of your HP recovery. You get a lot of HP recovery in your build just as is, even without focusing on yellow cores. So it's don't feel like you have to focus on yellow cores to make this viable. You get a ton of HP recovery naturally. I already, again, I'm not even max level yet, and I'm still doing my 1-star challenge, and I got a ton of attack from this. So it's very, very nice. And it's attack plus 100 per 1%. So it's actually a pretty decent ratio there too. Moving on, so that's the one that I would use for PvP multi. Now, if you were to use, well, we'll talk about that in a second. So the one, instead of that one, if you're doing Dimension Duel or any single target or like just dueling in general, you're going to want to use this one instead, which is Swift Strike Precision Hit. Increase damage on single target by a % amount. Obviously, this just makes sense why you would use this one instead of the other one. So yeah, it's going to net you more damage when you're doing PvP single target. So no explanation needed there. So again, so I would use the other one for kind of multi / PvE, and then this one is more for Dimension Duels in particular. Now moving on, the other option, which I'm sure a lot of people already mentioned, is the ultimate weapon damage amplification. So use an adamantium class skill. Increases all damage dealt to supervillains by 3% regardless of the upper limit for 8 seconds. So you get to exceed the supervillain cap. I don't think many people are fully capped, but again, you should be using supervillain damage for like alliance raids, and then I guess to the battle challenge to a certain degree. Those last like what 5-10 levels, whatever they are, 5 levels. So this is actually really good. Cooldown is 15 seconds, which is kind of a lot, but it's okay. And then when you are doing PvE, I would actually use this one in tandem with getting rid of the healing boost because you don't need it, and using this one instead. So that way you're getting extra attack, you're doing more damage in general all the time because you increase your attack, and then you're also doing supervillain damage a ton, even past cap. So that's why I would recommend it for that, for like true PvE build, whereas the other 2 that I mentioned earlier, Berserker Rage and Cutting Deeper, are used literally all the time. So max those out first. And again, as a reminder on where they are, this is Berserker's Rage, the ultimate weapon one, the green towards the bottom. And then again, bottom right is the Laceration Cutting Deeper one. So I would definitely recommend going down this tree here in order to get both of these. So that is the best specializations for Wolverine, and the explanation as to why I think they are the best. It does require you to basically max out the whole thing in order to get to all the different traits, except for the top right, actually, now that I look at it. So basically you just need to go top left and down. You should obviously capture all these anyway because it's just free stats that increase your power and increase your overall awesomeness. Wolverine is an awesome hero that they created. I'm really glad they made him very similar to Scarlet Witch in the way that you can build them so many different ways and it can be viable. It makes it so unique. And I just applaud Netmarble for doing that for these last 2 heroes, because the other ones, yeah, they're pretty stale. I mean, it's really just one way of doing it, and that's it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope this little series has been helpful. I will probably make another video on like the best stats to focus on, but there is a lot of testing that needs to happen there. And then later on, if it's still, if anything changes, I will make just one all-encompassing video that needs less explanation for like the best PvE build, best PvP, based off other learnings once I get them to max level. But I have put a lot of time into this build, and I feel like it is very, very viable. So I hope that these 3 videos have helped you. And until next time, guys, lock it in.